What's happening, everyone? And welcome to another edition of Systems Lab Live. This is the December 4th edition. We are in the last month of the year, but we are still pressing the gas, okay? All gas, no brakes, everyone, as we head to the end of the month. Hello, Dominique. Hello, Generational Wealth 412. Nice to see you. Well, we shall just get started. But first, in the the first topic that I definitely want to get into is curious about what you all are working on during this last month or even for the week. What are you focused on for the week? Doing well. I'm feeling very well. Thank you for asking. Yes. So, what are you all working on? Are you winding down a bit, or are you, gearing through, some of your end of the year projects that you're working on and things of that nature? What you still working on? That's the question. That's the question. So, as I pull up my notes for the evening, would love to know what you all are thinking through, what you guys are working on. You can put those in the comments, your name, where you're from, and what are you working on this week or this month. Now, our focus for today's show is how to navigate challenges, hiccups, and mistakes in your project management career. So, we're going to talk about all things growth and development in your PM career. I think this is a perfect opportunity to do a little bit of introspection and some reflection, but also think about the current state of where you are in your PM career. And so this is widely applicable regardless of your industry. Where are you seeing yourself right now? What are these areas of opportunity? I think a lot of times that we're working so much on so many different things, we don't have the opportunity to think through what are these particular areas that I need to work on. I'm being challenged by certain things. How is it that I can actually skill up, and what is it that I need to focus on for this next season? Very, very good. Okay, trying to get my mental break to get mentally prepared for 2024. And that's an important aspect, right? And I'm glad you brought that up about getting mentally fit, mentally fit for the rest of this year, right? For the rest of this month. And then, as a lot of people are doing, getting mentally fit and prepared for January 1. So pace yourself. Allow yourself to think through things, but take things day by day. Don't overwhelm yourself. But I can understand getting yourself mentally fit. I understand that. And so, as we dive into today's topic, one thing that you all may be interested in joining in is I'm going to put this text thing on here on the screen here to text PM Huddle, hashtag PM Huddle to 626-722-5444. If you'd like to get weekly updates from me, and these are tips, strategies, insights, things that I share, video, audio, something that always comes on a weekly basis. And so it's a really, really good thing for you to be connected. If you really like to get short bits of messages of strategies and things, I often get texts back too on questions people may have on projects that they're working on too. So definitely text me back, and I'll putting it in the I'm going to pin this comment too on the Instagram too. Text, and let me see, I should have PM Huddle. And so when you text that number too, you also will get a free audio series as well when you join too. So that's always really good. And it's on Project Foundations. And so that's the first of the 3 of a 9-part system that I teach clients and other organizations on one aspect of project management. So it's 3 key elements in the Project Foundations. And so you kind of get a teaser through 3 different audio I guess, yeah, you would call it like a private podcast. So if you text that number, that's what you'll get to as well. And then also to, I will be returning back sometime next year, uh, sometime in Q1 rather. I have to decide on that, of doing the PM monthly exchanges. So they may be in a different type of format, perhaps more community driven. And so you'll hear more about that in the coming weeks. So as we kind of work our way through that piece, continue to put the things that you're working on in the chat, and then we can interact that way. Um, Another thing I'm also working on as well is season 7 of Conversations with Ask Ash, which is really exciting, because that is when you'll be hearing a lot about the new season built from scratch. In fact, there will be a second live to be added, either so it will start this week or next week, but we'll be doing a built from scratch series where we'll be talking about case studies, what's going on, and talking through this concept of what does it mean to build really good sustainable programs and projects and things like that. And so it'll just be on LinkedIn, LinkedIn Live and Instagram. Yeah, it'll just be on those particular platforms, but it should be fantastic. And then I'll also be talking about what's to come from the podcast season, which will be debuting next month in January. So it's shaping up really nicely. And you guys will be seeing that soon. Just about probably 12 or so episodes max. It's your Netflix limited series. And so it's very, very exciting. So you'll be hearing more about that soon as well. I'll be on a panel event tomorrow if you're a part of the digital project manager community, which is a really great way to just meet other project leaders across the globe. We're going to be talking about what it means to manage multiple roles. You're not just the PM, you may be, the marketing assistant, the graphic designer. You are essentially the person that's like the octopus. You got many different hands, you got many different hats. And so how do you go about doing the work that you are in charge of leading and driving and executing, and you have, as they say, other duties as assigned? So it should be a really engaging panel. It's a members only. So if you're a part of that, that should be super, super exciting to be talking to people about, getting questions and perspectives on that as well. So those are really the updates. Continue to put in the chat any questions that you have on things that you're working on, especially as we're talking about overcoming some challenges as a project manager. What are the things that you're facing? And we're really going to be really focused on this aspect of growth, growth and development. So what I'm going to do is we've been doing this the past couple of weeks has been, I think, pretty sweet, which is taking time to use the good old iPad to go and write some things. So I'm going to see about, I think we're going to go through Good Notes again, go through Systems Lab Live, and we're going to see about adding a new page. And a new page. Actually going to do this. Okay, we're going to add this new page, and then I am going to share my screen. What we'll do here is we'll write out 3 tips to overcome PM challenges. Okay. And so let me look up here. some of the key takeaways from this particular live stream that I think are really important that we want to just dive into more, really just make sure you all understand is that most projects will have turbulence. It's all about really how you respond. I mean, I know we always say that, like, how will I respond? How will you respond? But it's true. Most of the projects that you encounter, you will have turbulence. Just like when you get on the airplane and they, say this should be a smooth ride, da, da, or they may say, hey, everybody, you're experiencing some turbulence. This is what happens, right? This is where everything is really unpredictable, right? You can't necessarily always predict, oh, this is how this project is going to be and do in X, Y, and Z. Right. So that's one thing I want to have the big takeaway. Yes, you will make mistakes, but those are actually data points for you to collect for your own particular PM strategy. So we're going to be talking about why in 2024 it is important right now to start thinking through what are some of the best strategies that you have really been able to ideate, create, collaborate, and execute on. I think it's going to be really critical because many of the projects and things that you all are working on, very different types of scopes, complex. Has different components and dependencies and things, and so really, this is going to be a way where you get a chance to innovate off of what has been done in the past, right? And it's an opportunity for you to what I love to call a play, call a play, and there's two sides of um, what I call a playbook. And I had a Instagram post, and I'll bring that up. If you guys are on Instagram, you may have probably seen it. If you can bring it up on a browser, you can see it as well. But one of the things I said, and I think this is important for us to discuss. So I'm glad that we kind of have this going on. The new move for 2024 is creating project playbooks. If it's not documented, it doesn't exist. Let's expand on that. The shift to eliminating cluttered communication is bridging the gap between your leadership style and the systems you create to ensure that your team understands how to get the work done efficiently. What do we mean by that? Let's share my screen so you guys can see on YouTube and LinkedIn as well, because I think this is really important to really kind of talk through it and to crystallize. Okay, I think y'all can see it here. And I need to share this because that's a really good post. Ain't nobody liked it yet. Somebody needs to like the post. I think it's a good post. um, but then this is a new move, right? The new move is creating project playbooks. I was in a conversation with an event planner in another Slack group, and they were talking about, we're presenting information, and how do we go about doing it? Does the event run of show, does that need to be shortened? Does it need to be condensed? And so I began to think through. I said, really what's needed is you having a playbook. So I think there's two sides of it. One, as a business owner, from that perspective, you creating your own PM playbook of how you go about ideating, creating, implementing, planning, and executing your project work. Okay. So I think the playbook from a business owner perspective, and even just a project manager perspective, even from a corporate standpoint, you having a playbook on everything that has to do with leading, organizing, and executing projects is what's needed. We need to go a step further than having it's different from SOPs, and it's different from having a project management plan. This is an interactive guide that's really going to help to um, what's the right word? Hey, Jason, how are you? Um, this is really more of an interactive guide that is really geared towards streamlining communication, eliminating confusion, and really giving people the play of how you go about leading, organizing, and executing projects. So it's not just, hey, we have a schedule, here's how you manage a schedule. So that was old school for me. And listen, old school is like literally 3 to 4 years ago, where we would put together project management plans, right? And let me tell you, you don't eliminate project management plans um, Like, you don't just get rid of them altogether. But what I'm saying is, let's evolve the project management plan into playbooks. I'm in love with this idea and this concept. I think it makes perfect sense for there to be an interactive guide in which you can lead a project and have your team members understand what to do, how to do things, and they can be in the playbook and have that alongside their project management tool. I think it is really good. What's happening, Atif? Great to see you on this great Monday. So, really, what I am really looking to talk to you all about today is this concept of overcoming these challenges that you may be finding in your project management career. And really, I use that term kind of broadly because you could be a senior VP, you could be an operations lead. We're just using that as a blanketed term. Really, project leader is probably the more appropriate term anyway. But there's so much just in terms of how we think about growth and development. And so, like I said, the first thing that we talked about was the fact that, you're going to have turbulence with your projects. That's number one. You're going to make your own mistakes, but they're actually data points for you to collect your own strategy. Number three, the daily practice is something that I often talk about. If you see my videos on Instagram, I always lead with, this is Ashley with the daily practice. And so what I love about this concept of the daily practice is that it is a way in which every day you are sharpening your skills every day. And so many people will think, well, how can I do that every single day? And I think there is tangible ways that you can do that. If it's not a literal every day, I mean, you may be doing it a couple times a week, you may be doing it once a week. But the daily practice is the habit, the mindset that you have to skill up in you as a project management in that role, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to write out a few concepts that I think is going to be really, really instrumental when it comes to overcoming some challenges. When you think about the growth piece of you as a project leader, what does that actually mean? And so I think it's really important that, especially in this month, that as we are reflecting on what we should be doing, this is actually really an exercise and really a lifestyle in which you go about approaching and attacking your own personal and professional development. I don't think there's an on or off switch with this. I think it's mainly an aspect of putting some things into practice when you're talking about your skill set. So I love it. I hope you love it too. And drop some comments in there about some things that you're thinking about in terms of how you think about growing in this season, in this current season, or even if maybe a season is ending. Um, it could be something that you're just thinking about. Hey, this is like what I'm looking to tackle. This is what I'm being pulled to in the season. I know for me, some things that I'm working through right now is character and leadership. So I'm reading this John Maxwell book, which has been super great. Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. Phenomenal book. And so, yeah, it's some good stuff. Yeah, and I'm going to be doing some cool things too as well, where I wrote my email list, which you guys should sign up for the email list. And there's a link in a bio in for the Instagram fam, but also for those that have the show notes and whatnot, you guys can click on that because it's a great email list. And so we talked about growth being intentional. That was the title of the email. Growth is intentional. So one thing that I think is really important that is often said, which is get a mentor, right? Such an I mean, that is more of on the obvious tip, right? Which is go on and get yourself a mentor, okay? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Okay. I think it's important that you seek out people who really understand who you are. And I think that is super important as well. I'm going to make sure that, are we able to share the screen, or how do we? Yeah. So that's one thing that I think is that is quite important as well. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Oh, I see. I know what I can do. I know what I can do. I know what I can do. View window. So anyone have any comments so far on that? Any comments so far on that? Because I think that's super, super important. Oh, let's see. Do 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 do. Um. Hmm. Screen mirroring. Aha. Let's see. Well, one thing I wanted to do, folks, is show y'all how to. You know what? I think what I will do is this. Is not as a mirror extended to a built-in display. No, that's not it. I think what I'll do is I actually will open up the Freeform app. I think that's exactly what I'll do. I do like the Apple Freeform app. I was just really trying to maybe I can cut and paste and put it in here too as well. Because we did this before and I thought this was good. Yeah, this isn't really what I was looking to do, but all right, y'all. We're gonna get back to it. Back to it. So, first thing that we want to talk about it, again, is the mentorship piece. Okay, why I think that's very important is because we definitely need to understand why we need to seek somebody who has better or maybe more increased knowledge, right? And I think having a mentor will help everybody out. What does that look like though? How do you practically, from a practical perspective? I'm just gonna put my iPad right here for a minute. From a practical perspective, growth is intentional. All right. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I think that's really important is as we see and kind of think through, growth being intentional, mentorship is going to be key in your own development process. Okay, so here we go. Growth is intentional. One thing about me is I will love a good app. And we will get to that. And we shall share thy screen. So we can begin to learn. Okay. So so that's what we want to see here is that folks, growth is intentional. And from there, here we go. We got to share this right here. Perfect. Okay, cool. So mentorship. That's the number one thing. Who has a mentor? Put in the comments if you have a mentor. Mentorship. Who have you found that has really good and deep knowledge for what you're doing? Who has it? I think this is really instrumental to have someone that you admire, someone that knows a little bit more than you, someone that's seasoned in your profession, and maybe even just seasoned in other areas that you don't have any experience with, right? So I would encourage you that if you don't have a mentor, that you seek one out. That is someone that either you can tangibly have a add value type of relationship. You can pay for mentorship, but you can also do another thing that I found to be super, super really important as well, um, is peer to peer masterminds. This, my friends, as a Tim Ross would say, is a cheat code. Is a cheat code. What I love about peer-to-peer masterminds is this. Peer-to-peer masterminds really help us to see from one another, what you're actually working on, how you're actually approaching things. I love them. You could do them formally. If you have a group of people that really enjoy vibing with each other, it could be like 2 or 3 people. I know that I would consider them a peer mastermind slash friend group where we talk, we share opportunities, resources, but we're also have a listening ear, and we're also growing as individuals and as friends. And so having peer to peer masterminds of people that are within the same um, scope of what you're doing and the same interests is golden. And I think it's great. You can meet weekly or you can meet monthly. You can meet bi-weekly. You can be in an app. I think there's so many different ways that you can really maximize peer-to-peer masterminds, or even what I love to call, and we have another one, or community groups. Community groups. Okay. So when we talk about this aspect of overcoming challenges, growth, um, growth is intentional, which means you take intentional action. So joining peer-to-peer masterminds, membership groups, things like that, I think are super important for your growth and development. I have joined Digital Project Manager community. I'm also a part of the Women of Project Management community as well, and serve as a chief resource officer. What else? What else? When I love to see the intersection and how the intersection of project management can be in specific places, like podcasting. So I'm a part of the Black Podcasters Association, right? Because I have a podcast, B, want to learn from um, some really cool professionals, and C, I really want to be around this concept of operations and how you um, treat content as a product, and all these things that I'm writing and reading and really dissecting in such a unique way. And so what that does is that it helps you keep your mind fresh. And I'm in and so well, I guess it goes into number 2, but regardless, what's really important about what I just said is that this aspect of having community groups really allows you to see things from other perspectives, gain support where you need support, and be able to, in a healthy way, be able to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. And people being able to swoop in and offer support and offer some coaching and offer a way for you to look at things from a different perspective. Peer-to-peer masterminds are cool too, because you get to be held accountable in a different way, right? Where things may get prickly, right? Just because we have to do what? Know thyself, which is number 2. I'm so glad that we are really, really going through this, because a key part of ensuring that you understand that growth is intentional is that you have to do what? You have to know thyself, which I think is just so, so key. Knowing thyself, knowing thyself, knowing thyself. Okay. So when we talk about knowing thyself, we talk about knowing thyself. Hold on. Great. So you guys can see that. When we talk about knowing thyself, that means really knowing who you are. Who are you fundamentally? Who are you in this season? That's actually my favorite question to ask on my podcast. I ask about nobody's title. I may introduce you so that you kind of know and associate that person. But the first question I always ask is, who are you? Who are you in this current season? Outside of what we know you for and what we're going to be talking about, who are you? It's a beautiful question to ask. And this is where you can get really, really deep and introspective. Who are you? Who are you as a person? Who are you as an individual? What do you know about yourself? What do you know about yourself? So important. What I think is super important as well when we talk about the knowing myself is through personal and professional development assessment. Let me make sure to, if I can double back. Um, okay, I made all my points with that one. Okay, I went out of order, but we don't care. Know thyself was last, but that's okay. We're here now. We are here. Let me log in to this other platform, but let's talk about in the comments too. What do you know about yourself as a leader, as a person? In this particular season, what have you learned about yourself? I think that's important. Let's dive into that. Adiola, what's happening? So knowing thyself is important because you should know how you show up to your team with your team. You should know how well you do not respond to things when it comes to emails, trigger points, things of that nature. We talked about emotional intelligence at the top of the month. Go back to that live. That was so instrumental. Being emotionally intelligent, and what exactly does that mean? So, knowing thyself means understanding what are your particular habits, your systems, and your behaviors. Knowing that, and it's a lifelong journey. It is a lifelong journey. That's why one of the things that I am especially doing, hey Chesco, that I'm especially doing in this particular season is going through two of my personal development assessments and really walking through, what are those particular areas and points that I need to be focusing on now and in this particular season and into next year, right? Knowing thyself means that you are also reflective, like you know how you respond to emails, to people and things in that moment, and being able to adjust. That's a huge thing. That's a really, really huge thing. It's also knowing how well that you work with other people, how you should be able to communicate. One of the other assessments that I love is Cliff Strength Finder, excuse me. Clifton Strength Finders. That's what I'm trying to say. And that is a really, really great tool to really learn from. One of the reasons why I love that. Let me see. I'm trying to get the most recent one of the Strength Finders. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull a couple of those things up. Okay, DISC, Gallup. Okay, I think this is the same though, if I'm looking at that. Oh, yes. So for me right now, and I'm going to, I will stop sharing, but then share this so that you guys can see this. Juan Alvarado would be so proud because I think he would love that I'm sharing my Strength Finders, which is my Strength Finders is on relationship building. And so the top 5 that are really strong, my top 5 strengths are strategic, connectedness, relator, discipline, and positivity. So as I write that down is my Clifton, just making a note to myself, Clifton Strength Finders. What I will do with this information is I'll probably just do something where I build something out on Miro and through Coda, and I can show you all, kind of how you want to build out your own PD plan, which is instrumental to your growth. So strategic. Okay. Let me go down here so that you guys can see it. So strategic, you create alternative ways to proceed. Faced with any given scenario, you can quickly spot the relevant patterns and issues. Why your strategic value is why your strategic is unique. Okay, driven by your talents, you probably feel very good about yourself and life in general when you know the exact words to express an idea or feeling. Language has fascinated you since childhood. Your ever expanding vocabulary often earns you compliments. Hey Chandra, how are you? Um, and so this goes through like why you succeed in using strategic. You quickly weigh alternative paths and determine the best one. And they say how you can maximize the potential. And so this is going to be really key when I have my Miro board. I'm going to map out a few things with this because I think this is going to be a really great way where I can pull together disc and strength finders, pull some things together and really start to just dive into this piece of it. And so it says right here, trust your insights because you consider options so naturally and easily. You might not realize how you came up with the strategy, but because of your exceptional talents, it will likely be successful. Watch out for blind spots. So this is going to be really important in terms of things to work on. Things to work on. When working with others, sometimes you may misinterpret your strong strategic talents as criticism. Be mindful of what is already working well and what others have accomplished. Because you evaluate patterns and pathways so quickly, others might find it difficult to follow or understand your thought process. Be aware that sometimes you might have to backtrack to explain how you got where you are. Man, if I had somebody to get to be a guest on this live, I think she would absolutely say amen to that. Okay, so these are the things, folks, when we talk about knowing yourself so that you understand who you are, what you're doing, what are your interactions like. And so when you're talking about overcoming challenges, these are some tools that you use that you can now look for, so that you can start to see, all right, well, what approach should I take in this situation? This is why knowing thyself is a long journey. It's never ending. It shouldn't ever be. It's growth. And this is why we say growth is intentional. So an intentional action step that I shared with my email list today, as I said before, go ahead and click the link, Instagram fam in the bio to sign up for weekly insights from me every single week. They're fantastic. And then also in the show notes below, go ahead and subscribe there, so that you can get the emails every week. But I talked about what is this next step? The next step is looking at this information, carving out, and the way that you do that is you get serious and say, hey, I need to put this in my ClickUp app. I need to make time for like 30 minutes to walk through this and put it on my Miro board. The first step that I probably need to do is then design my Miro board, so that I can just start to look at these particular areas. So this is what we mean by knowing thyself. So if we go back to, stop the screen, we're going to go back to present, and we'll go back to this window. And the other thing was leadership development assessments. Conducting lessons learned. This is also how you know thyself and others. So number 2 with that is, or maybe this is A, and this is B, is lessons learned. Why is this important? Lessons learned is a great way, an opportunity where you can go back with yourself and your team, with your CEO, whomever that you're working with, and really start to do what they call in the Army a hot wash. And what you do there is you go through what happened during the project, what happened in the planning process, what happened in the execution, all of that. This is where you gather insights and data. This is where you go. And if you're super intentional about this, you have a way in which you are logging this into your playbook, inside of your ClickUp, your PM tool. You can do one in Asana as well, but you can do things where you can create a lessons learned database. This is a perfect way to have a database. Yeah, and I mean, I'll write down right here some apps that you can do that with. So we can do to make it, if you want to make it interactive, you use ClickUp to do that, and I've showed that in the past as well. Coda is another way that you can do it. Well, at the risk of not sounding hypocritical, I will not write down Airtable, because Airtable is not a project management tool; it is a database driven tool. But I will say that you can also probably put that in also Asana as well. You can do some lessons learned, and then last but not least, our honorable mention would be Google Sheets. Google Sheets. Google Sheets. Lessons learned. Okay. So that's a way that you can capture it. That's a way you can assign where changes that need to be made in terms of your organization and future projects and things like that. Lessons learned, all these things right here when we talk about the knowing thyself and knowing others. This is in the knowing others category. It's kind of, oops, I'm going to erase that. This is in the knowing yourself and knowing others category. This is where you start to really key in on the communication. Know others. I'm just going to write that here so that we kind of know that. So that's where we can start to know one another, and to know one another. Let's see. Get to know your teammate, get to know your team members and the culture of the organization. So that's a blend of going a little bit deeper than the lessons learned. Everybody being able to take some form of an assessment is a golden opportunity to learn about your team members. So, the PD assessments are also super clutch for you all to dive in and start to learn from one another. But also, one pro tip, people. One pro tip is listening. Listening and also asking questions. Also non-work related question. This is where the listening comes in. Somebody has a dog, somebody has a cat, somebody went to the beach, somebody, went to go and travel somewhere for the first time. You ask, right? You ask about, what happened and, get updates and things like that. I do believe, while people may say, it doesn't matter if I'm not liked and things like that, but it is helpful when you do show interest in people, right? I think it's important for the culture and what you are building, right? I think if you think about where we are in terms of the culture of work and the future of work right now, we are fully into remote and hybrid teams and work. So now more than ever, this aspect of how do I get to know people? This is why we say growth is intentional, because you have to be intentional with getting to know people now more than ever. We're not seeing people every single day. If we're not sharing our faces on the screens and whatnot, then it makes it hard. So if you are someone who is heading back into work, don't fret. Use it as an opportunity where you can get to know other individuals as well. You can sit with them, talk with them, just also, get a new scenery, as you're doing your work. I truly believe that it's worth it. So that is a way in which people can just see you in a different light when they see you in person, when they meet you, when they kind of feel your energy and all that other good stuff. Last but not least, learning and growing, aka reading, is fundamental. Reading is fundamental. So one thing that I think is quite interesting too, when it comes to the PM world, when we talk about our own growth and personal development, um, one can say, if you, especially if you choose to go to in the PMP route, you can, as I'm writing, reading is fundamental. You could almost feel as if, okay, like, well, what's next? You know, and from a career perspective, you have to start really thinking through, where it is that you want to go, whether it's industry, sector, it's a niche of PM that you really like. But you're not necessarily going to know that unless you are diving into community groups, you are going to conferences. That's also another thing to put into our kind of our mentorship piece. A way to do that is going to conferences and things. But reading is fundamental. Knowing what's out there in the industry, what's changing, what is it in terms of an area when you're looking about overcoming your challenges, and perhaps whether it's communication, whether you don't know much about risk management, whether you're trying to get better at managing your time and managing multiple projects. What does all of that look like for you when it comes to overcoming challenges and you want to be intentional about your growth? Reading is fundamental. So a current read that I have is Managing Multiple Projects. It is a great book, and managing multiple projects is really good because I am in a season of managing multiple projects and wanted to learn more about that. Heard some really great things about that. So that's going to become one of my core reading books that I do some digital notes on as well. I'm an article reader, as very, what do you call, I don't know, is it voraciously? I don't know if that's a word, but very much an avid article reader. So I use this app called Readwise, where you can actually highlight areas within the article that you find to be fascinating or that you want to make note of. Readwise is great. It'll give you a 60-day trial if you are new. But then after that, you pay something. I think it's under $10, but it's very well worth it because you can tag things, you can highlight, you can make notes. I find it to be quite useful. So Readwise is another really great app. And again, when you're talking about overcoming your challenges, you're talking about growth. You need to keep yourself fresh when it comes to things, even about AI, right? We're going to do a full on episode on a live stream on AI and for project managers, and we're going to go in. It's going to be a good old time. But I'm going to have an expert on as well, because I want to ask all the questions. I want to go through different tools. I want to talk about all the things. And it's going to be a good old time with that. But even in understanding about new trends and new technology, you want to say to yourself, okay, how can I utilize this particular trend, or what should I be looking for in utilizing this? How does it affect current processes? What does it mean for, what I'm trying to do for the project planning and the execution piece of it? So I think a lot for the project managers, what I'm hearing about what they are looking for AI, especially is the ability to maybe create a schedule, a Gantt chart. If you just put in a series of tasks and things, and maybe put in some prompts or something about, scheduling out milestones and things, and getting some sort of schedule that's built out from scratch, that they're able to build for you, and then you can start from there and build from there. Some cool things I think that Miro is doing is that you can do things where if you need to summarize particular viewpoints, if you have different type of stickies on there, it can summarize it for you. I know Coda has AI, Notion does, a lot of the big tools have AI. ClickUp does as well. You can do things where you can ask it to do meeting summaries and notes. I think there's like a task summary AI feature where if you're writing something within a task, it can predict or write something for you. And I'll say, I'm trying to figure out if I have something open that I can show you quickly, but the reading is fundamental is key. It's key. It's everything in terms of your growth. And so be thinking through that. Be thinking through that. So as we wrap up today, I thank you all for your time and attention on this day. So awesome. Very good, everyone. Does anyone have any last minute questions? If you do, be sure to text PM Huddle to 626-722-5444 for any follow-up questions as well. Also, coaching slots are open for you all, those that are looking to create a playbook. If you're looking to work through some project that you're working on and that you need some coaching around, you need some help around understanding and coming up with some strategy, please be sure to click the link to book a connection call so that we can get on the phone and that we can talk. We can talk about how we can work together. So that's all that I have today. And I thank you so much. I'm trying to find this last particular task. I'm going to try to see if maybe it's in, let's see, is it in the podcast piece? Where is the thing? It says, oh, Ashley's I wonder if this is a good one to do too. Yeah, I'm actually going to, let me add in task summary. Let's see if it does it. AI summary. It can be a bulleted list or a progress update. I'm going to add the column and see what happens. Yeah, this is exactly what it does. And so it tells you inside of ClickUp, it'll tell you for the AI, it'll the task summary, it says this task involves the production of episode 6 of the podcast with guest X currently at 58.3% completion. Last update is that the subtask of getting this guest to fill out the guest form has been completed. So all the things, people, all the things to consider when we talk about AI and whatnot. So that's all that we have here today. Again, thank you all so much for your time and your attention as we think through, these aspects of overcoming your challenges. Remember that growth is intentional. And so, with that said, we'll be back next week. And next week's topic, unless I change it, will be what are the key tools, the 2024 key tools that project leaders need, to be successful in the new year. So that should be a lot of fun. And so this is where we can dive in a little bit deeply into some of the tools to be used. So that's all that we have today, and have a great one. Bye-bye.